In the summer of 1997, Joanne Rowling, better known as J.K. Rowling, unveiled her new book series to the world. This new world that she created quickly became the dream for many kids and adults. Some kids, like myself, who were obsessed with the series, woke up on their 11th birthday sad that they didn't receive a letter to attend wizarding school. As part of this wizarding world, she created many new words, phrases, creatures, and even sports. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy a nice butterbeer as we discuss Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup. We're Soulless Gaming, 5 brothers who grew up playing video games during the 90s and early 2000s, and today we're going to take a look at Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup and see how it stacks up after all these years. Is it as good as we remember? Does it deserve a sequel or a remaster? Hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss another montage, Soulless review, or brothers chat. Without further ado, let's get going. Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup was released right in the middle of the Harry Potter craze. On October 28, 2003 in North America, so just after the 5th book, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and prior to the 3rd movie, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. The game was released on PC, GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. It even had a Game Boy Advance port. The game across the board received generally positive reviews, except for on the Game Boy Advance port, which basically everybody negatively reviewed due to its extremely simple gameplay and poor graphics compared to the other platforms. The game was published by EA Games.
EA Games.
Challenge everything.
And developed by the UK branch of EA. In their infancy, EA UK was primarily known as the developer of FIFA Soccer Manager and the F1 racing games, and even helped develop the orange box for the PS3. After several years, they were rebranded as EA Brightlight, however, and focused on all of the EA-published Harry Potter games, and a few random games here and there like Hasbro Family Game Night 1, 2, and 3, and then the games Zubo and Flips for the Nintendo DS. Sadly, as with most EA-owned studios, EA Brightlight was shut down in 2011, not too long after developing the last Harry Potter game. Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup itself never received a sequel, and although some Quidditch minigames were present in future EA Brightlight developed games, there's never been a game that focused on the sport of Quidditch quite like this one. As soon as you boot up the game, you're shown an epic cutscene of the preparations being made for the yearly Quidditch tournament of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. After the cutscene, you're given the option to select which of the 4 Hogwarts houses you're going to play as: Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, or Ravenclaw. The team that wins gets front row seats to the Quidditch World Cup. Naturally, out of the 4 houses, I picked Ravenclaw.
Welcome to the Ravenclaw Quidditch team. Before we play our first match, we've got to improve your skills with some training.
As the Ravenclaw Seeker, Cho Chang quickly led my team to victory each match. Unlike most modern sports games like FIFA, NBA 2K, or Madden, where most of the time, or in certain modes, you can pick which character on the field you'd like to play as. However, in Quidditch World Cup, you instead are always the active player. You can't really let the AI of the game drive the quaffle up the field while you set up a chaser or another player in a specific spot of the pitch, which I think would have been an excellent feature and would have added much depth to the gameplay. When I first started, it was kind of weird, because I'm used to adjusting my player according to my playstyle, but it was just something that I had to quickly become accustomed to. One thing, however, that I couldn't wrap my mind around was the controls. For some reason, the default controls have you placing your left pinky finger and your ring finger on the arrow keys, and then your middle and pointer fingers on the number pad on the right side of a full keyboard. If you don't have a full keyboard, well, I guess you're out of luck. Then, with your right hand, you use the left and right mouse buttons to shoot and do various other moves. I did notice that after suffering through the difficult control scheme for about 2 to 3 matches, I saw that the key bindings could be adjusted, and I changed them to the WASD keys and the top numerical keys. By successfully passing to teammates, scoring goals, and building up your combo meter, and stealing the quaffle from the opposing team, you will ultimately enable the final segment of each match, which is what I like to call snatching the snitch, where the gameplay switches to your Seeker, who you haven't been able to play as during the whole game, and by using your boost that you've accumulated through passing and combos and such, you can fly past your opponent and catch the snitch. This earns you 150 points for your team, and it ends the match. After each match with an opposing Hogwarts team, you unlock a new minigame that helps hone your skills as an overall Quidditch player. In these mini-games, you can learn how to do special passing combos, special shots, practice your beater skills, just to name a few.
Bludger button and guide the bludger towards the target. Cho Chang with a reminder. Press and hold the special move button and steer the target over Edgar. Release the button to tackle. Use the dodge
Once you've won the Hogwarts Quidditch Cup, your house is chosen to go and watch the Quidditch World Cup.
It is with great pleasure that I award this year's Quidditch Cup to Gryffindor. And to those of you who will be attending this year's Quidditch World Cup, have a wonderful time. And don't forget to take your omnioculars.
In this mode, you pick which team that you like to follow. As a kid, I always picked the French team. Not 100% sure why, but I decided to stick with them for this playthrough as well. Preston, my older brother, he decided to play with the US team. As I was playing with the French team once again as an adult, I loved the bright blue jerseys and how the French National Stadium basically looks how I'd like my front yard to look in about 10 years. After each match, you earn wizarding cards depending on how well you did, and once you earn enough, you can unlock better, faster broomsticks, and even more teams to play as. This encourages you to score a lot of goals and try out new teams so that you can collect as many wizarding cards as possible. After 18 long, repetitive matches of winning by more than 300 points, I was crowned victor of the Quidditch World Cup. The first few matches after learning how to do passing combos and special shots were extremely fun, but after 18 matches of winning by over 20 goals, that charm quickly wore off. The commentary repeated itself constantly, and although there is a slight difficulty curve once you progress into the Quidditch World Cup from the Hogwarts stuff, the game still didn't really challenge me, and I could easily steal the quaffle each time the computer passed to a different teammate. After each match, I found myself wanting more from the gameplay, and I wish they had alternate modes where you could play solely as a beater, or just as a seeker, or just a different role other than the person who was holding the ball at the time. Because of these shortcomings, we're going to give the gameplay 3 souls out of 5.
It's over! Spain! Come out on top!
In 2003, some of the top games that Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup was competing against were the first Call of Duty game, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, and Tony Hawk's Underground. All of these games were great at the time, and they drove the gaming industry forward. The lighting in Prince of Persia was great, Tony Hawk's Underground is honestly one of my favorite games, but one thing that these games lack is color. There's a lot of gray, brown, dulled green, and just muted colors overall. This is something that Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup does not have. This was a breath of fresh air at the time, and playing back through, it was something I noticed almost immediately. The bright colors of the stadiums, the colors of the players' jerseys, all did a great job at teleporting me into a football or a soccer stadium. No, there's not hundreds of different animations for when you shoot or pass. The crowds could definitely look better from a distance, but there's variety in the various Quidditch pitches that you play on. From the Bulgarian stadium that has a lot of fire, to the Nordic stadium that looks like you're playing on a glacier, to France and England, each one is full of character and life and does a great job at representing that team's specific geographical region. The small clips that play after every few goals or after a good steal or a specialty shot are great for breaking up the continuous passing and shooting gameplay and were a welcome treat. They were expertly animated and show the versatility of the animators and game developers. The game's graphics, I think, hold up pretty well, and to me, they still look great 20 years later. On top of those little clips and animations that they did to the characters, I think they did a great job at making it feel like you're in a stadium setting with the environment, colors, and crowd. It all reminds me a bit about how the Quidditch World Cup looked in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. There's a great sense of grandeur and excitement. All of these factors combine for a great graphical setting. We're giving the graphics 4 souls out of 5. As we have mentioned in prior videos, you can't have a good video game without great music. Even poor video games can be saved by their fantastic musical scores. Between the 5 of us, we can agree that Hans Zimmer, Inon Zur, Koji Kondo, and Martin O'Donnell are famous composers that could save just about any game, or if they were hired for any movie. One other composer, who's been our favorite ever since we played Morrowind, is Jeremy Soule. Not that this game needed saving necessarily, but it would have been a completely different game if Jeremy Soule didn't lend his talents to the EA UK team. Together, they produced what we think are some wonderful and whimsical pieces that fit perfectly into the wizarding world of Harry Potter. These are some of our favorites from the game. This one song basically has 3 different songs in it depending on what's going on in the match. This one plays right before you take a shot, and I feel like it gives you a bit of suspense right before you shoot. If we could, we'd give the music a 10 out of 5 because it's just that good. Jeremy Soule is a master at creating a world with the music that he composes. The excitement of scoring a goal or winning a worldwide sporting competition, he finds a way to drop you into that exact moment of thrill and excitement, and he does it so well in every game. Because we don't want to give out extra credit for other categories all willy-nilly, we're going to give the music 5 souls out of 5. One of my favorite things about a game is completing the main story and then seeing what you're rewarded for doing that. Some games, like The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, give you something simple, just a game over screen, and nothing else. Others, as seen in our Lord of the Rings video, give you the ability to play as new characters or give you new settings or new places to go. In Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup, you're rewarded with a new stadium called Quidditch Marsh. This new location is set in a marshland, presumably in some part of the United Kingdom, where instead of goals to shoot through, the chasers shoot through hoops formed by a large tree. I love the music that plays here, and it sets the mood as a place out in rural Great Britain. The new location is a lot of fun, and according to the book Quidditch Through the Ages, Quidditch Marsh is the assumed location where witches and wizards first played Quidditch, and where it evolved into the sport that we know today. On top of that cool nugget of lore, it offers an additional place to play an exhibition match against another player, and I specifically remember playing here with several brothers when we were younger. Rewarding players with cool and interesting bits of lore and additional game modes for completing your game are a great way to keep players engaged even after they completed the main story. I recently completed the Resident Evil 2 remake, and I think Capcom is one of the best developers at keeping their players engaged. By adding several new game pluses and alternate stories through Leon and Claire, I went back and played through the main story even though 75% of it was the same. I've even thought about doing a new game plus to see if I can beat the game without saving or if I can get a few new achievements that escaped me the first couple times I played through the story. Going back to Quidditch World Cup, I just wish that there were more modes to enjoy after winning, or if there was an option to play a shorter World Cup once you've completed your first playthrough. Because even though I played through with Ravenclaw in France, I would still have to play through at least another 144 matches if I wanted to go through the World Cup with each international team. Over 140 matches of winning by 300 plus points doesn't really sound like a fun way to keep people engaged in your game. With all of that being said, we're going to give the rewards section 3 souls out of 5. In the gaming community, we talk a lot about nostalgia. Basically, the secret sauce in a game, music, or other medium that helps teleport us back to when we were younger and remember a simpler time. Maybe the first time that we played that game. As mentioned previously, when I was replaying this, I was periodically remembering the music or the stadiums that we used to play in almost 20 years ago. The musical score of Jeremy Soule, the tight feeling when it's you versus the other seeker in the final seconds of a match, and the cool scoring animations all helped nearly teleport me back to a simpler time. The sound design, graphics, and setting all combined to make a fantastic game that we would love to see made into a sequel or remaster. My wife and I have been watching all the Harry Potter movies, and Quidditch was such an integral part of the wizarding world, and it's a shame that we don't get to see even more of it in the films and in the video games. We're going to give Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup 15 souls out of 20 and encourage everyone to find a way to play it. We're all just hoping that when Harry Potter Legacy comes out, there will be lots of Quidditch to play. Thanks for watching, everyone. And if you liked what you heard, hit that like button and leave a comment down below of a game that you'd like to see us review.